Now funding on Kickstarter a brand new set of Halloween mask pins, vintage style pins designed by me, Kneon. Check it out at halloween.ninja. That's halloween.ninja. So the AMC theater chief, Adam Aaron, said that he wants Paramount and Warner Brothers to merge. He said that the state attorneys general should not be blocking this deal. It's actually going to be good for theatrical, and that is very much not the story that we've been hearing. Everybody's like, oh my God, guys, it's going to kill theaters. Everything's going to be doom and gloom. And here's a guy who's in charge of one of the biggest theater chains being like, no, actually, it'll be fine. It's good.
Yeah, I know, but they're not allowed to say that because you can't tell the truth if that's not what they want to hear.
Reddit is hugely angry about this because this is definitely going to poke a hole in this case because the case is contingent on the state AGs being able to show that it's going to harm theaters. And when you have the boss of one of the biggest theater chains coming out and saying, no, actually this needs to happen, it would help us if this happened. Whoopsie doopsie.
Yeah, well, like I said, they're just telling the truth because at the end of the day, as we keep pointing out, if it doesn't happen, Warner Brothers Discovery could be completely gutted anyway.
Yes. And
then that's going to hurt everyone a lot worse than if they get bought by the Ellisons, for pity's sakes. It's just the insanity blows my mind. They'd rather people lie to keep perpetuate their bullshit than flat out be honest and say, no, we need this to go through because it'll help us. How dare you?
Yeah. Yeah, and really we know what this is about. It's about CNN. It's about keeping the Ellisons away from
Trump.
CNN. It's about Trump, and Trump is friends with the Ellisons, and they don't want them to get CNN because they already have CBS, and they're afraid that this is going to throw a wrench into the election. What'll happen is they'll probably wind up stalling this thing out for a couple months, and then as if by magic, right after the elections are over, they'll be like, yep, you can go ahead and merge. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing is insane to me. And the arguments they keep making, and like, oh, it might raise our prices. They already have been raised. Oh, it might cause too much of a market share. Disney has more. Didn't care then. Just the arguments are stupid.
So let's talk about this latest turn of events. This is going to be a movie. Like the whole Paramount Warner Brothers merger thing, because this is like up, down, sideways. It's crazy. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
If you'd like to listen to the audio version of Clownfish TV, go out to iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to podcasts, and we are there. And please subscribe, give us a like. It helps us out. Thank you. Let's talk about this because this happened like last night. And again, we've got the boss of one of the biggest theater chains just being like, no, they need to go ahead and merge it. But because the thing is if Warner Brothers broke ass and they can't put out big movies, you know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, I think it'd be better for them anyway because they're really kind of striking out lately with the DC stuff compared to Marvel.
Yeah, and the thing is, AMC probably wasn't too keen on Netflix because Netflix buying it, they said, oh, we're going to keep theatrical. But we all know that it was likely they'd do it for a year or two, and then they'd be like, whoopsie doopsie, we're not doing it anymore. We didn't say we'd do it forever. And I think the theater chains knew that. So they know their best chance of keeping a bunch of movies in the theaters is to push Warner Brothers over to Paramount, and that's what they're going to do. But, that's not what the Reddit people want to hear. That's not what the people that are like, it's going to hurt too many people want to hear.
So this is coming from Variety. AMC Theaters chief Adam Aaron pushes for Paramount Warner Brothers merger, says thanks, but no thanks to state AG's blocking deal. So yeah, we've got the states out there. We got California out there trying to block this deal. And here's a guy who's in charge of one of the biggest chains being like, no, you don't need to do that. So this is actually written by him. So he's talking about the comeback. The theaters are making a comeback. And he said AMC theaters in the U.S. and our Odeon cinemas in Europe are together the world's so they are the largest movie theater operator. We never believed that movie-going in theaters was an anachronistic relic of some bygone era. Despite an admittedly painful lull in the box office, our confidence in our future and our resolve to get through this crisis was never in doubt. As our friend and champion Nicole Kidman has been telling one and all, we come to this place for magic. There we go, guys. Nicole Kidman.
Well, I think they paid her for that commercial, but okay.
Yeah. At AMC, we know above all else that magic doesn't ever go out of style. Comebacks do require hard work. AMC did our part. making our company more efficient, finding new sources of revenue. Popcorn buckets. Lots and lots of popcorn buckets. And since 2020, investing more than $1 billion into maintaining and enhancing our fleet of theaters. So talking about new sound system, whatever. They said, the comfiest recliners in the world. This is just an advertisement. Oh my God, guys. They said the Odyssey's doing good. Spider-Man's doing good. They said this comeback tale is proving itself out to be out before our very eyes. In the second quarter of 2026, AMC Entertainment just reported our highest ever revenue and our largest ever adjusted EBITDA in our company's entire 106-year history. Popcorn buckets.
Merch, yeah.
Merch. I repeat, for fans of a comeback, this was AMC's most successful quarter ever. I'm going to stop right there because I remember during the pandemic, it looked like AMC was going to go out of business.
Yeah, they were taking loans and shit. I remember that, yeah.
But yeah, nobody was going. Plus, the movies were shit, too. Most of the movies were not good.
I remember filming that video in our bedroom back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and we were like, yeah, the movies kind of suck, too. Then it was so bad that they were like running old movies in a lot of theaters. But that was actually kind of cool, to see old movies again. But
they still are doing that, and it is fun.
All right. So they said, looking forward, there's yet another milestone that suggests better times are immediately ahead for those who adore the movies. The proposed Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery merger is poised to create a powerful combined company, one that will have the scale and passion to deliver even more such films to theater screens the world over. It's a move that's feared by some, but in our strongly held view, this instead is a step forward that should be welcomed and celebrated. Perhaps that's why Paramount's action to strengthen itself has already been cleared by competition authorities and regulators in the U.S., Europe, and throughout the world, as of this writing, in some 65 countries globally already.
But this is not about, let's be honest here, the backlash has nothing to do with what's smart.
No.
The backlash is about the Ellisons and TDS and CNN. And that's what this is all about. And because their arguments are ass weak. They're just like...
They're ass weak.
They're ass week. I'm
is that
very
like
tired
Shark Week?
today. I'm
is that
very tired.
like
No,
Shark Week?
That's another week. I'm very, very tired today. But their arguments, like we talked about, I just mentioned a little bit ago, they're just not true. And they don't hold water, especially when you look at what they're arguing and you compare it to the changes that have already happened. Weaker Hollywood, fewer productions, fewer writers, and fewer jobs. That's all because of your own damn choices. That's not because of this. And it just blows my mind that they literally would rather just let it die and completely fuck each other over than, let somebody else have it. And now AMC is even like, no, we need this to go through so it can boost everyone. And they don't want to hear it.
You never want to fuck each other over during Shark Week. No. Maybe Ass Week. It just depends. It depends. There's a lot of work that needs to be done for that. But
I'm very tired. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
It's been a long day.
It's critical to the industry's future this transaction be completed as soon as possible so we can all build on the momentum that finally, after 6 years, only recently has been established for that. Yeah, pretty much this year has been, there have been some major misfires. Let's be very clear. There have been some massive flops at the box office this year. But there have been a lot of surprise hits too. Mm-hmm. And it does feel like people are willing to go to movie theaters to watch movies as long as you give them movies they want to spend money on watching.
That's the key. And Hollywood has to learn that lesson.
And also popcorn buckets. Lots of popcorn buckets. They said for that to happen, though, the legal challenge from a group of possibly well-intentioned state attorney generals must be overcome. Bullshit. This is about CNN. This is about them throwing a temper tantrum, and this is about the fear that they could just move the whole operation out of California.
Well, that would be California, but this isn't going to help. But I think it's because they're just like they're mad about CNN. They all are blue states doing it. It is what it is.
So he's basically saying this. He's like, the movies have been shit. That's why people aren't coming out. So the most encouraging is who's leading the way at the theaters. It said 87% of Gen Z saw a movie in a theater over the past year.
Oh,
young
good.
people. Yeah. Young people love to go to the theaters. We thought they were lost forever to TikTok. He said this resurgence can only continue if we have a steady supply of great movies.
Great movies, keyword, great movies.
Great movies, marketed well and given enough time in theaters to become cultural events.
Yeah, because theaters aren't happy that the studios all started only leaving stuff in the theaters for 45-day windows and that kind of crap back around the pandemic. and because of streaming services. So he's basically trying to argue we need to leave the movies in theaters longer. But then again, can they though? Because they're making so many movies, you can't leave things in theaters too long because there's always new things out every week.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we went to go see Spider-Man today, and they actually bumped the Odyssey down to like one screen, and they put Spider-Man on like 3 screens.
And they add all kinds of extra showings. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a big theater, but yeah, they were like, yeah. So it's almost like, now I feel like that might be why some of these movies misfire, because it was like every week it was like the new big thing, and people were like, I can't spend $50 to $100 a week every week watching movies. Like, it's just, I mean. And most people are like, okay, this one's going to be dumped on the streaming. Like He-Man's doing really, really well on streaming right now.
Well, I think some contraction has to happen because there's just too many being cranked out. There's too many. I'd argue they're like, well, this will cut output. I think you need to cut output because what's going on is you're dumping too much and nothing has enough time to have any staying power. Basically, first 2 weeks, then boom, you're out.
Yeah, and that's it. And if you want it to be a cultural event, you're actually better off having one big movie that plays for weeks and people go back repeated viewings and have a whole bunch of flops, right?
Because kids, they leave movies in theater for a year. Like Home Alone was in theaters for like a year.
And then they would bring them back out again. Like I didn't see Empire Strikes Back the first time around. Obviously, I was way too young, but I did catch it. They re-released it right before Return of the Jedi came out. And then Return of the Jedi was the first Star Wars movie I saw like in the theaters. But yeah, I remember E.T. coming back in like 1985. And because most people didn't have a VCR. So, and a lot of the movies, even to get to VHS would take like a year or two.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it was a big deal. Like when Batman came out and E.T. came out on VHS, it was like years. Well, Batman was 6 months. E.T. was like 7 or 8 years after it was in the theater. It was a long time. I remember people were like, "Oh my God, E.T. hasn't been on," because they just kept dumping it in the theater because it's making so much money. So basically, he's like, "Yeah, it's a big commercial for AMC, but he's just like, yeah, we don't want you to do this." So they're talking about the competition. They said, we intend to sell more tickets for them in theaters than anyone else does on Earth.
Okay, more
they're talking
commercial.
about Paramount. Yeah. Their commitment to theatrical release is likely to endure and increase only if they feel real competitive pressure, not just on their streaming platforms, but also from movie companies who are pushing to fight for cultural and commercial relevance in multiplexes. That kind of intense competition. Yeah, they're talking about the competition. So that kind of intense.
Yeah, they're talking about between theaters and studios. Is what he's talking about between studio companies. Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of intense competition won't happen if companies like Paramount and Warner Brothers are forced to struggle as subscale competitors, which is exactly what will happen in our view if their merger is blocked. Yeah, basically they can't survive on their own. I mean, Paramount had to sell itself to Skydance because they're in such a shit place, and Warner Brothers they're not going to make it, guys. I don't know on what planet you think everything is going to continue as it has, because
we've been saying it over and over. I don't know what they're smoking.
The AG's lawsuit argues in part that this merger needs to be prevented to protect companies like mine. Well, thanks, but no thanks. Their complaint simply gets the economics of our business backwards. Yeah, this is going to go. Okay, so this could blow this whole thing up because a judge is going to look at this and be like, well, they're the biggest theater chain. They're going to be the most affected. And they're like, yeah, this is no good.
Yeah. You're not doing it for our benefit.
You're not
basically.
Yeah.
We don't know why they're doing it.
Yeah. I love how he says, presumably well-intentioned. No, he's saying that to cover his ass. He knows damn well what this is about. It's a power play for CNN. That's what this is about. And he's going to get caught in the crossfire. And he's probably like, shit, could you imagine Paramount and Warner Brothers putting out good DC movies that make as much money as Spider-Man? Wow. Yeah, that'd be great for business. Can you imagine all the fucking popcorn buckets we could sell if people actually went to the DC movies again? AMC licenses films one by one and theater by theater. Every week we decide what to show, on how many screens and for how long. We negotiate revenue splits and other terms with every major distributor. We are not naive about bargaining power, and we do not give ours away. Over and over again, AMC has chosen not to play a movie if we're unsuccessful in negotiating film terms that we think are fair and reasonable, both the filmmakers along with the studios. And I remember Disney strong-arming people over The Last Jedi. Like they had to run The Last Jedi.
Yeah, they wanted like a ridiculous split. Like they got to keep almost all of everything. It was really stupid.
Yeah, they said, even with that said, they said they have to fight to get the best terms. A weak slate is a much greater threat to us than a strong studio. More movies means more ticket sales. A commitment to observe a respectable theatrical window draws bigger audiences to theaters, and better movies that are marketed well are icing on this cake. It all generates more moviegoers, which translates to more popcorn and popcorn buckets being consumed, to more energy being very much in evidence throughout theater. David Ellison and multiple executives on his team have said publicly and committed to me personally that a combined Paramount Warner Brothers will release at least 30 films theatrically each year, each with a minimum 45-day premium video on demand and minimum 90-day subscription video on demand exclusive theatrical window. These are specific and measurable commitments addressing the two things that movie theater operators need most: more movies and enough time to turn them into events. If the AGs are truly concerned about the future of the theaters, they should focus on holding the new company accountable for delivering on these promises. At AMC, we intend to do so. The good news is we don't need to just take David Ellison's word for it. There's a real track record here. Paramount released only 8 films last year. After Ellison's Skydance took control, it put the studio on track to release 15 movies this year in 2026, and similarly increased the number of movies being greenlit for future releases. Not just any old movies either, I might add. Ellison has already demonstrated that he is a consummate movie executive, having made commercially pleasing films. Commercially pleasing films.
That's key right there.
Like Top Gun Maverick, Mission Impossible, and Air. So, and Star Trek movies that used to be an event. Right?
Yeah, that's why they ruined Star Trek. Like Star Trek, Star Wars, all that's ruined.
And Paramount, the reason they weren't putting that many movies out is, frankly, they couldn't afford it. Like, they couldn't afford to put, Paramount was dying. Like, they were not, like a Sonic the Hedgehog movie every other year. Okay, fine. That's good for a bump, but not like that wasn't the bread and butter. The Transformers franchise died. It's like.
They're saying too that Paramount's already, put its actions into promise. They said they could have used it as a bargaining chip, like, about the theatrical windows. And they didn't. Because they didn't want to play games. They said they already put it out there because they're trying to make a difference. And that kind of ties into, I guess, Ellison trying to get tax credits for movies to be made here. Which again would benefit people in Hollywood, especially, people that work on the movies outside of being actors.
Yeah. But this is going to blow a massive hole into their argument, because he wrote this manifesto approving the deal. Letting a combined company get about the business of producing huge numbers of films is a big step in the right direction. This is why AMC Entertainment, the largest movie theater chain on the planet, is a full-throated supporter of doing so. And they have the most to lose. If they thought it was a bad deal, they would have been like, do not do this. We're not going to have as much movies. And they're like, no, the only way that we're going to be able to get good movies is if somebody has the money to make the good movies to get people to the theater.
And we need more. Yeah, we need better, bigger movies is what they're saying. And then, of course, Reddit is pissed. What is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So they're already starting on about AI. They're like approving this Paramount Warner deal. They're a full-throated supporter. Giant red flag. He also uses the full-throated phrase. That's his number 2 priority is less human labor, more AI robots.
I know, but here's the thing. I'm not a huge fan of AI either, but it's not going anywhere. I'm sorry to tell you this. I think they need to limit. I think they need to make sure that it's more of a tool and less of a replacement. I've said that at length, but AI is not going anywhere. So it is what it is.
I agree with this guy here. The merger with Netflix would have hurt AMC way more. Yeah, because Netflix would have lied to get it through, and then they would have been like, you know what, maybe we'll play around in the theaters. But to them, the theaters are competition. Mm-hmm. Because they're like, if people are going to, and I think Netflix was probably the biggest perpetuator of, people just want to watch movies at home. They don't want to go to theaters anymore. Theaters are dead.
Yeah, they only put things in theaters they absolutely had to. And they were just saying what they had to do to get the deal.
Yeah, this person's 100% with the Freddie Fazbear alcohol. You are correct, alcohol. What people who want the merger to fail seem to realize is that Warner Brothers isn't going to continue existing as a studio if it does get sold to Netflix or whatever. Zaslav will sell off all the IP and sell everything off individually instead of as a package.
That's what we keep saying. That's what we've been saying. We've been saying this since the beginning.
It's either Paramount, which is their best chance for theatrical, which we've been saying the whole time. because Ellison actually likes movies. He's been making movies for a while. He likes movies. He likes theaters. He likes the whole experience. Or they go to Netflix. They're going to lie to get it through. They're going to strip it of the IP. They'll have a Batman streaming show, and that'll be it. They're not going to do anything with theaters.
They'll put a couple things out to appease people, but most of it's going to just go to be like, get their subscription numbers up or watch time up or whatever.
Yeah, because Netflix is the biggest competitor with movie theaters right now. So,
and Netflix by a long shot is the number one media company around the world. If they're worried about, a monopoly, and they're worried about, antitrust issues, if they're worried about these two merging, even combined, it's nowhere near Netflix. Disney, with all the stuff combined, is nowhere near Netflix. It is like leaps and bounds above everyone. So if they're so worried about the size of a company, and that's why it can't get put through because, it's going to be too big and all these jobs and all this, then they would have had a hissy about Netflix. Yeah. And they did have a hissy somewhat, but they were more willing to let that go through than they were willing to let this go through.
Yeah. So I think 100% this thing is going to go through. I know a lot of people are like, it's not going to go through. I'm like, it's already sailed through the Fed. It's sailed through the EU. We've got the boss of the biggest theater chain in the world saying this is actually good for the industry. I don't see what the objection would be at this point. They'll probably be like, okay, well, you have to promise not to move Paramount and Warner Brothers out of California or something. But it's just dumb. You can't tell somebody they're not allowed to move their company.
No. They keep trying California. They keep trying to find a way to make you keep paying them taxes even if you do move.
If you don't live there anymore, you have to still pay them tax. At that point, I'd just be like, I would do it out of spite. I'd just move out of spite. I'd be like,
well, I think they might at this point. I mean, he might not, though, because he legitimately, it seems like he wants to do what he can to save, Hollywood. But then the flip side is that they're all turning against him. They're all cheering for his demise. Then he might, but...
Well, that's the state level, though. But the people that actually work on these movies, most of them live in California. So it's not just, it's not like Tesla.
No, but I mean, I get that. But if they're also joining they shouldn't be allowed to merge, stop the merger because of this stuff. It could bite them in the ass because, if they leave, that's less jobs for them. Yeah. If Warner goes out, that's less jobs for them. So their championing of this idiocy is probably going to cost them far more. If you thought that the strikes were bad for job losses, they keep this shit up, it's going to get way worse.
Yeah. Yep. So we're going to wrap it up.
Yes.
Please subscribe. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Now funding on Kickstarter, a brand new set of Halloween mask pins, vintage style pins designed by me, Kneon. Check it out at halloween.ninja. That's Halloween.ninja.